Welcome, everyone. This is ACDC, Araceli and Colette, the Dynamic Change. My name is Araceli, and I'm a transition wealth advisor. We're working with professional women to rearrange their finances. And as you know, I'm also a real estate investor, and I'm here with Colette Brava. Colette, can you tell us what you do, who you are?
Hello. So on this beautiful fall day,
Yeah, got your leaves.
I know I love that background. I love it. So I'm in my fake cottage here. My name is Colette Rabba. I am a residential real estate broker in the GTA West. I love what I do. I love helping people buy and sell homes, but also investors, and that's why Araceli and I love to do the show because we know it's all about financing and getting your finances in order to buy real estate. So today we do this show weekly, and today we have our part 4 of real estate and financial terms because not everybody knows everything. So we are really easygoing. We like to answer questions for everybody out there. So please don't ever hesitate to ask us, because if you have a question, everybody else has that question
Yeah,
on their
and
mind
and you know
too.
what? Basically, maybe you have heard the terms, but you don't really know exactly what they mean. So we're just gonna give you a little bit more clarification on what that is. So take it
Exactly.
away, Colette.
All right, so I'm going to share a screen with you. I have a
Hmm.
little presentation, and we make this pretty easy and light. We don't like to get really heavy and scary, because this is not the reason why we do it. We don't like to scare anyone, but it's good to know, and it doesn't mean that you have to be an investor to know these terms. They come up in life, and once you understand, if you are an investor or even a purchaser of a home,
Yeah.
sometimes these things come up. So Araceli and I both have just a couple today, and we're going to go through them with you. So let's get started.
Yes.
You're first. You're up first. So
Yeah.
financial
So
term.
this is something that a lot of people get confused about, which is consumer proposal versus bankruptcy. And I
Can I
can
tell
tell
you
you,
something?
yeah, yeah.
Sorry. I was just going to say, you know how I never even heard the term consumer proposal up until a couple years ago. It
Really?
never, I had no idea. I've heard bankruptcy all the time, or in the States, what is it, chapter 11 or
Chapter
something?
11, yeah.
Yeah, so I hear those terms all the time and it's terrifying, but I didn't even know something like a consumer proposal even existed. So I'm sorry, take it away.
Yeah, that's okay. So basically, there is two major differences. But first, let me tell you what they are the same. They are both debt relief solutions. So that means when everybody has got too much debt, you seek either bankruptcy or a consumer proposal. Now, there's two major differences, and I think that Colette put it here very lightly.
Easy.
Okay, so that solution is the consumer proposal is a solution that is formal, legally binding process, and you have to go to a trustee to get this done, and they will negotiate the debt that you have, and they will come up with a payment, but it depends on how much money you make according to the law. I don't know what the tables are, but basically your payment will be dependent on your or what you make.
Well, and how much you owe too.
Of
So
course, right?
yeah,
And
so the little graphic there is based on $40,000 debt. So we're not talking a couple $100 here. Like you
yeah,
cannot, claim bankruptcy. Also, I have a question for you.
yeah.
How do you need to go to an insolvency trustee to even get the permission to do a consumer proposal? Like, how does that work?
Well, yes, you do, because what they do is they have to negotiate on your behalf with all if you have credit cards with the banks, or if you owe something in your mortgage, depending on where you are, how many financial institutions you're dealing with, but they have to interfere basically and tell them that you don't make enough money. This is the only thing that you can afford. The majority of banks, they will take it because they rather have some money
Something.
than have
Yeah.
no money at all, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so, and they know that every time that somebody borrows money, they have the risk of that person not repaying.
Right.
So that is embedded. That is part of the debt uh, business model that the bank uses, right?
And it
So
could also be consolidation. So let's say you have a mortgage and you have a car payment and you have credit card debt. So part of the trustee will, I'm thinking, will consolidate all of it.
okay, so consolidation is different because that means that you're tight with your money, but your cash flow at the end of the month is not enough. So but you're not really struggling too much, only with the monthly cash flow. So what they do is they put it together and they give you a smaller payment at the end of the month. This one is basically you are telling the bank or the people that you want money to, that you don't have enough money to repay. So
Okay.
they basically will take less money of what you owe, right? But let me tell you, for bankruptcy, that is a lot more negative. So that would be kind of like the next thing. In this case, your assets are in play. For consumer proposal, most of the time it is given
Manageable.
someone that does it is and it isn't, but you don't have to give up your assets, right?
Okay.
Versus with bankruptcy, then you may have a property, you may have some investments, things like that, that they're going to take into consideration. In some cases, some of the segregated funds that I do manage, they're not part of that proposal or the bankruptcy. So that's what is very important, to take a look at where you are and how can you avoid as much as possible those assets to be taken by the bank. But it is very serious. And the whole thing about this is that, to make sure that if you are okay right now, you don't have to look at the terms, but take a look at your finances very, very closely now that you're okay. Because if you think that you're not doing so good, that is the perfect time to do it. Because if you continue to leave it, these two things are very damaging to your credit score. And credit score, it stays there for up to 7 years. And that means that you're not going to be able to rent an apartment. You're not going to be able to apply for a mortgage. In some cases, you
Buy a
cannot even
car.
you cannot even get employment sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Or
it
even a
is
car
very
lease.
damaging. So that's what I'm thinking. Take a look at your finances, no matter where you are. If you think you're not doing that good, that's the perfect timing to look at it and try to avoid it as much as possible. Most people think, oh, well, I go bankrupt. Doesn't matter. No, it does matter. It is very
Yeah.
damaging to your self-esteem as well,
Of
emotional,
course.
and of course your credit score, that is going to take you years to recover. So
Yeah.
think about this. And if you do need more information about what the two differences are, or if you are kind of on that,
If you're going down that road, you talk to
then,
Araceli first
then talk to
before you
me and
even.
see if there's anything that we can do to help you avoid this, and just kind of turn around the corner. And what can we do to avoid it altogether, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like even you're talking to someone and say, "Hey, I had to do a consumer proposal versus I had to go bankrupt." Like just speaking it is terrifying to say that's a way bigger, heavier thing to say I had to go bankrupt. So, and it's a personal level, but also you can bankrupt your business. So, all these things we want you to think of before you have to go down that road. So please talk to a financial advisor like Araceli.
Yeah.
And then that way she can walk you through what the next steps are before you get into trouble, into making a decision on these two.
Yeah.
Creditors are not fun either. Like we all
Oh,
know
no.
that, they'll call you, they'll find you, even if you buy something online. Oh, looks like they can afford to buy something, so then they come after you
I
again.
know.
So just the stress of that gives me like a stomach ache. Like I can't
Oh,
imagine anybody having to deal with that. So,
yeah.
and especially with big debt, like this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about a couple thousand or $100 here and there. We're talking about, really a lot of money. And I know Canadians are usually very conservative with their money and their spending, but that's not 100% across the
It
board. There'll
is
be
not,
lots of.
and I'm telling you, I think that there is a little bit misunderstood, because right now the statistics are that we're spending $177 per dollar that comes into the home. And
Oh
this is
yeah.
the statistics. So, if that is you, if you think that you're spending a little bit more than what you're making, it's time to look at your finances. Believe me,
Yeah.
take a look at it, take control of it now, because it gets
It'll
like,
catch up to you.
oh, and really quick, the thing is, racking up debt is fast. Getting out of it is a very, very difficult. So,
It's just like losing weight.
yeah, tell me about it.
I can gain weight like that.
Oh,
Losing
yeah,
it, yeah, not that easy.
it's
Okay, well,
exactly
thank
like
you.
that.
Yes,
So,
and that's the financially being financially fit. So that's what Araceli and I really want you to accomplish too.
exactly. And the
Just
thing is, remember, if you don't manage your finances, if you ever want to become a real estate investor, you have good credit, you need to be in a good financial position to make those decisions. So that's what we're here for, to tell you, try to avoid this as much as you can. But if you think that you're going down the road, seek help. You can
yeah,
reach out to me, or if you're already working with someone, go and talk to them before you get into trouble. Believe me,
of
when
course.
people come to me and they're at this point, then there is absolutely not much I can do for them. You
Right.
need to have some time to recover, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you
I
have to
get
do.
I get calls like that too, where they ask me for help and it's I can't help them. It's just
Exactly, right?
hard.
So
So you do your due diligence before you get in trouble, and then that way you can come out ahead.
yeah,
Okay, well, thanks. So
remember,
let's go to some
remember that we
easy.
are we are professionals. We are
Yes.
not magicians. I like to get a license, but it's very difficult to get.
Yes, people ask me questions too, and I go, look, I can answer you, but I don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea what the future is going to hold. When people, especially with real estate, and if
Mhm.
things are going up or going down, I go, let me check my crystal ball, and I'll tell you, because even the best bankers and the forecasters out there that are, looking at the future, they usually look to the past to
Mhm.
make these decisions to give us, what's coming ahead. So it's hard to know 100%. Like nobody, if somebody claims that they can tell you 100% where the market's going to go,
Yeah.
please give them my, I want to talk to them because I would like to know what their formula is. Nobody saw COVID coming, for example.
No.
Nobody saw market crashes coming. So these are people that look at markets every day, all day. They know the government, they know what the US is doing. These are economists that do it and they still get it wrong sometimes.
Yeah,
So,
and remember, all transitions are like that. They come in just like that in a second, right?
right. Yeah.
So you have to be prepared, because expect the unexpected. That's pretty much the way I look at it. The
Yeah.
constant change is that we're changing all the time. That is
Yes,
the only
that's
thing.
it. Right. And we have to be prepared for it. So financially, if you have certain goals with your finances and you want to get to a point where you can even afford something, not it doesn't have to be an income property,
Mhm.
whatever it is, you know, you have to put a plan in place. So this is what Araceli's specialty is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to some
Okay.
real estate terms, shall we?
Yeah.
So this is something that I still get calls from people. I do mainly residential real estate. So that means I sell homes, I sell condos, anywhere you can live, cottages, things like that. Commercial is a different thing in this sense, especially with residential, especially with the real estate laws. And I'll get to that in a second. But mainly, oh, and this is the other thing too. I'd be very careful about real estate agents who do both commercial and residential because commercial is highly, highly specialized. And if you are looking especially for industrial warehouse space, that's the one thing I would use an exclusive commercial realtor for, not a residential one, because there are so many very detailed things that, yes, you're buying the building, but there's a lot of other things that go on with it, especially environmental. So um, I highly recommend you get a specialist in commercial real estate if you're going to buy an industrial or warehouse space. So really there's four main areas for commercial real estate. There's office space,
Mhm.
industrial or warehouse space, multifamily rentals, so like an apartment building, a small apartment building, or a converted home, and then there's retail. A lot of these have to do with leasing. So you probably wouldn't buy an office space. You'd probably, or a retail space. It's more likely that you would lease it. The leasing laws in Ontario are very, very different than residential leasing laws. So really talk to someone before you go out and start looking for property, because there are a lot of details with commercial laws or commercial spaces. So I just wanted to tell you that. And
So,
obviously you can always call me and ask me these
yeah,
questions too. And if you're looking for to buy an office space, it's not that difficult to use a residential real estate agent for it, but you have to make sure that the clauses that you're writing in to the agreement spell out very specific things. So somebody like me, yes, I am trained in selling commercial real estate. It's not my specialty. It's not something that if I feel that there's a better person out there, and you can always revert to your real estate lawyer as well to, make sure that all your ducks are in a row, so to say, so to speak.
so
Okay, so that's
I
yeah.
have a question. So what about triplexes, fourplexes? Are they considered residential or are they considered commercial?
It depends. It depends on
Oh,
what their zoning is. So this leads me to the second part of my terms, which is highest and best use. So when you are buying, so let's just say you're buying a house that has been converted into four apartments. So
mm-hmm.
when Araceli says a triplex or a fourplex, this is generally speaking, it was not originally when it was built a triplex. It was a home that somebody along the way converted into three apartments, let's just say. There's also something called a mixed use building where they might have commercial on the bottom and residential above. That is considered, the whole building is considered commercial. So when you go to sell, but as a lease, you have the commercial lease and you have the residential lease. So you have to be very careful about those sort of things too. So the thing what I hear that you don't hear on a regular basis is what is the highest and best use of the land, of the property. So let's say I want to buy a house, but I decide that I actually want to buy the two lots beside each other. So there's in my neighborhood, anybody's neighborhood, there's two houses that technically, I go in and knock on, let's just say figuratively, I go knock on the door and say, hi, I'm interested in your property. Would you sell it to me? And they say, yes, okay. I'll say, okay, I'll only buy it if I can buy your neighbor's house as well. Because highest and best use in that area, and I've checked the zoning, which is very, very important to check the zoning with the city to say, I'm allowed to build townhouses on this little piece of property. So if I buy not just the one property, I can't do townhouses just on one, it's not big enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if I buy the two and have the whole thing rezoned to build townhouses,
Yeah.
I can get more money when I do it that way instead of just tearing down the one house and building one house on the lot.
And
Let's
I
just,
have seen it just here, in the neighborhood that I live in,
of
constantly
course.
they're having, now we have smaller homes, but before they were really nice houses with a large frontage. And what they do is they buy an older home, they take it down and they build two either semis.
Right. And
Um,
you know what? Actually, for a while there, if I'm not mistaken, Mississauga didn't allow any semi-detached homes to be built anymore. So there was a period of time, I believe in the 90s and 2000s, yeah, I could be wrong, but that's from what I understand from, talking to builders and stuff. They said you can't do it. So now they've changed the rules in Mississauga. You're allowed to do semi-detached again or townhouses. So
mhm.
the zoning, depending on the area, and that's the big key that I want to say here, with highest and best use, you have to do your due diligence before you make an offer, before you get the property, to know what exactly am I allowed to do on this property and what could I possibly maybe that's okay. If I go to the city to say, hey, this house is zoned whatever now,
Mhm.
if I want to put townhouses on here or a small condo or a small apartment building,
Or
am
make
I
like a tall building,
right,
maybe.
depending on the size
Yeah.
of the property. Right. Exactly. So this is why, I took this picture. This is Mississauga. This is a whole complex on a really big corner in Mississauga where it took years and years to have this built and, to go to the city and rezone it and get the permits and get the height of the towers accepted by the city. So things like this take years and years and years to do. What was on this corner before? Nothing. Nothing. It was a gas station or something. There was nothing there. So same thing, it happens in every city. It's not like it's going to happen overnight. But if you are that type of investor where you want to, collect properties side by side, corner lots are famous for that. If you get a busy intersection that you can start collecting the houses, and this is actually happening in Etobicoke, and it's been happening for years and years, that they're collecting, smaller homes on this corner. And you can see they're all for rent now. For years and years, they're for rent. And eventually they will build a condo because they
Mhm.
know this is the highest and best use. Sometimes it's commercial property. Sometimes it's, farmland. I don't know. Like it depends on what the city and the municipality has it zoned for.
Yeah. So
So
Colette, another question for you. I've seen some houses that they have commercial at the bottom and they have residential on top. So who
yeah,
would you get? Would you get a commercial realtor to help you with it, or a residential
to buy it and
to
sell it,
buy it? Yeah,
rent.
buy it, sell it.
Well, you could see that's the only, when I said don't use a residential realtor for a property like that, that's really the only time I would really, you can talk to either. You can talk to a residential real estate uh, person or commercial real estate person, as long as they can help you with knowing the law and everything that comes with it, because every realtor is different. You can say all day long, I can do both. But if it's not your specialty and if you don't know how, because you might say, okay, I'm going to buy this property and I need to find a tenant for the main
Mhm.
floor. If you use that same realtor to lease that commercial space and it's a residential person, they might not know how to do it. They might not know what kind of lease to put together, what kind of tenant will go in that spot.
Yeah,
So you got to think ahead a little bit when
yeah,
you buy a commercial space.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so the other thing too, what I want to say about highest and best use, there's the 4 criteria for highest and best use, and it's not always financial because you can't build a tower on every street corner. So, and it might be very, very expensive to build it too. So there's the physical possibilities. Sometimes there's a water table that is very high and you can't dig down and do really deep foundation. Let's say you want to, maybe the highest and best use is a parking lot. So these are the things, if it's not legally permissible, then forget it, you can't do it. So that's why it's very, very important to find all that information out before you purchase. And the last thing is the maximum productivity of the unit. So that's why sometimes commercial or industrial warehouse space is great because it's actually able to make money
Mhm.
by, shipping or whatever it is. So these are all things that take um, a lot of time, a lot of knowledge, depending on the property itself. So it's easy to say, yeah, yeah, I can do commercial and I can do, I'm a mover and a shaker. I can do both. But honestly, when you need somebody at the beginning to say, I really need really good advice and I want someone who has experience with this
Mhm.
very specific piece of property, this municipality, this is what I want to do with it. Can I do it? Find me this property. The other thing too is that's very important. That's sort of not in the commercial real estate under the 4 main areas
Mhm.
is hotels.
Hmm.
So that sort of falls under none of these categories. It's not industrial. It's not family use. It's not retail. but it is sort of a rental situation, but it is commercial, depending on how big, you know, if it's a motel or if it's a hotel.
Mhm.
So these are the things with highest and best use. If the area needs it, maybe that's the highest and best use in some cases.
Yeah, that's great. Well,
Yeah.
the key takeaway here from all of these concepts is that if you are a real estate investor or you want to become one, you have to look at the long term. What is it that you want to do? The farther you
Right.
go, you see ahead of you, with you won't be able to see everything, but if you have that length of time, then you'll be able to ask the right questions, especially for commercial, right? Because
Yeah.
there's so many things that are not allowed to be done. So you gotta know, do I want to tear this down? Do I want to make more? Do I want to convert it into this? So
Sure.
try to explore that way before you actually talk to the realtor that is looking for, so they're able to help you much better.
Right. And that's when it comes to local people. So when you're using someone that, you know, this is the weird thing about having your real estate license in Ontario. I can buy across Ontario. I can buy anywhere.
Mhm.
But if you ask me, can I build a hotel in you know, Fort Erie? I'd say I have no idea because I don't know the
Yeah.
jurisdiction. I don't know the neighborhood. But if you tell me, oh, you know, can I build a triplex in Mississauga, then there are different rules, and I can answer that question.
Mhm.
So it's really important for you to do your research on who you hire and get them to tell you what their specialty is and how, and their previous clients. I have no problem with people talking to my previous clients, and I think that's like in any other
Yep.
industry too. You know, why are people just going and hiring a financial advisor? Okay, Araceli, you seem like you know what you're doing. Ask those questions, and we
Yeah,
can tell you
absolutely.
why. Yeah, and who's the best person for you?
For
It's
you,
you know, it's
that's right.
great if you
But the
want to work
most
with
the most
us.
important is that you need to seek professional help, because having advice from your neighbor or your coworker,
Exactly.
it might not be what you need. So seek
Yeah,
specialized help, because things change constantly. And if you don't talk to a professional, you might not get the latest of what you need. So
exactly. Yeah, and there's things coming up on the market all the time, and there's different options all the time too. So, you know, if you're really interested in doing that and in, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, if it's, you know, from bankruptcy to buying small apartment buildings, you know,
yeah.
we talk about a lot of stuff on this show, but really it's about you and what your needs are, and we want to meet your needs and help you. So that's why we say, you know, hit us with your questions. You know, what burning questions do you have that you just would love to have the answer to? Please let us know, and we might do a whole show just on that.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, thank you, Colette. This was fantastic. And
Thank you.
we'll see you next week.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.